There's a strange kind of silence that follows you when someone you secretly care about walks into the room. It's not loud, it doesn't shout, but it pulls at something deep inside, something quiet. And Daching, that's how it felt every time I saw him. My neighbour. The boy who grew taller when I wasn't looking, whose voice deepened when I wasn't paying attention, whose smile started stealing sleep from my nights. I used to see him as just a familiar face across the fence, a kind kid chasing after soccer balls and calling out for his mum. But then something shifted slowly. Then all at once he became something more something. I didn't want to admit, not even to myself, but it was there in the way. His glances lingered in every brush of his hand that seemed too casual, to be an accident in the way he laughed, and how that sound stayed with me long after he was gone. He moved in next door with his mother when he was just a teenager. I remember helping them carry boxes into the house. He had braces and an awkward laugh that cracked when he got too excited. And I was just someone trying to be helpful. The years passed. I got busy with work, with life. And he quietly, gracefully grew into someone I couldn't ignore. One afternoon last week, we met by the mailbox. It had just rained. I was fighting with my umbrella, looking like a mess. He came over, took it from my hands. With that easy confidence he seemed to carry now, his fingers brushed mine barely, but it was enough to send something, warm crawling under my skin. You always battle the weather with such elegance, he teased, and I laughed, pretending I didn't feel my heart trip in my chest that night. I stared at the ceiling for hours. It wasn't the umbrella. It wasn't the rain. It was the way he'd looked at me like I was something Hugh wanted to understand something. He'd already started to see since then. I started noticing the little things, how he lingered outside a second longer if I was on the porch, how his eyes always found mine, like they were searching for something. Once I caught him watching me from his window. He didn't look away. He smiled, and I smiled back. We hadn't crossed any lines, but the air between us felt different now, like it was holding its breath. One evening he knocked on my door, holding a bowl of cookies Mom made too. Many, he said, but his eyes gave something else away. I let him in, suddenly aware of how soft the lights were, how quiet my house felt with him in it. We talked about silly things, old things. I teased him about the time he got stuck in the cherry tree between our houses. You were always there, he said, his voice softer than before. I didn't know what to say as he left. I followed him to the door. We stood too close, the space between us thick with unsaid things. His eyes met mine, and for a second time seemed to pause. But then it passed like it always did. The next few days were a blur. I started wearing earrings I hadn't touched in years, watered my plants a little later, hoping he'd see me. Maybe he did. Then came the power outage, the whole neighbourhood dark. I lit candles and watched the rain. That's when I heard the knock. I saw your lights, he said, rain clinging to his hair. Thought I'd check on you. I let him in again. The air shifted. I handed him a towel and he dried his hair, never looking away. We sat on the couch, bathed in the soft flicker of candlelight. He stared at his hands. Can I ask you something? He said. Do you ever feel something and worry that maybe you shouldn't? I swallowed. I think those are the feelings that matter most. I said, the ones that sneak up on you, the ones you don't plan. He looked up, eyes searching mine. I feel something, he whispered. I wanted to say I did too, that every moment near him felt like a quiet storm. But I just looked back at him, and that was enough. The space between us wasn't empty. It was full of everything we hadn't said. A few mornings later, I found a note under my door. Will you go walking with me? Just 6 words. But they made me smile. I wrote yes and slid it under his door before the sun fully rose that evening. We walked along the park path. Sky was soft and golden. It's nice like this, he said, just being. I nodded. Yeah, it is. We sat by the lake, quiet. Then he said, sometimes I wonder if this is just in my head. You're not the only one wondering, I replied when we got home. He stopped at the gate. I think about you a lot, he said. Me too, I whispered later when the rain returned. He knocked again, this time with 2 mugs of tea. We sat on the couch like before, talked about nothing and everything. Have you ever wanted something so much it scared you? He asked. I looked into his eyes. Yes, I said right now. He didn't touch me. He didn't have to. His presence was enough. I think about holding your hand, he said, voice low. I wonder what this could be. It's real. I said, for me too. We sat in silence until the storm passed. When he stood to leave, I walked him To the door, the porch light flickered. "Good night," he said, pausing. "Good night," I replied, and for the first time in a long time I meant it.